She used lightning on a dragon. Who is she? So there was this company called Filmation that started in the late 1980s, and they had a pretty simple goal. Let's make sequels to Disney movies, and people at the grocery store will buy them thinking they are official. They started in 1987 with a movie called Pinocchio, Emperor of the Night, which I don't want to get into right now, but it has this horrifying scene where Pinocchio is forcibly transformed back into a puppet as he screams and cries, and an old man laughs at him. It's kind of messed up, and I'm sure you're thinking, why would this be in a kids movie? And you're right, and that's the mood you need to be in for this video. Okay, so that was 1987. It's clearly an unofficial sequel to Disney's Pinocchio movie. It starts out with Pinocchio as a human already, but they turn him back into a puppet so he can relearn the same lesson, and it ends with him becoming human again, making it just kind of pointless. But what does that have to do with lightning, girl? Well, in 1990, they made a sequel to Snow White called Snow White Happily Ever After, and it was released in France. We're going to look at this movie in more detail in a second, but I want to help paint this picture, this grandiose scene. Walt Disney was incredibly protective over Snow White, because that was the first feature-length animated film. He was also, oddly enough, very protective over Alice in Wonderland. He tried to make that into a feature for decades before he got done in 1957, but yeah, so anyway, Snow White, 1937, 20 years prior to Alice in Wonderland. We're not talking about Alice in Wonderland anymore. Snow White, 1937. Disney will never do a sequel to Snow White. It is one of the only Disney animated movies to never get a direct-to-video sequel, and it's part of Walt Disney's last will and testament that it never will. I think it was right next to the part of cut off my head and put it in a block of ice underneath my theme park. I don't know the exact specifics, I don't have Walt Disney's will in front of me. But hey, remember the Disney Vault? For those of you who haven't read your history, this was long before Disney Plus and The Mandalorian or Baby Yoda or whatever. One of Disney's original plans was to re-release their movies in theaters every few years, so people would pay to see it all over again. The original intent behind Fantasia was that they would swap out some of the musical segments so people would have new things to look forward to in the middle. It was a pretty sound business strategy, and also why they were so reluctant to even have VHS tapes in the first place. History is amazing. Side note, I'm calling this right now, shows will be taken off of Disney Plus and be put on a rotation just to try to sell DVDs and Blu-rays. We all know it's going to happen, I'm calling it right now. Wow, a lot of tangents already. What am I building up to, right? Am I right? Okay, so the year is 1993. Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs is the first movie to be scanned into digital files, the first animated movie digitally restored back to its original splendor. Disney was so excited they put the movie back into theaters to show the world. They announced the project months ahead of time because it was a technological wonder and they were very excited. So while they were doing that, Filmation has had this Snow White sequel for like 3 years, waiting for the perfect time to release it in America, and when you know it, with just the right amount of time to plan it out, they released it in theaters right next to the original Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs. Isn't that amazing? You could go to the theater and ask for a ticket to Snow White, and if you weren't paying attention, you could go see Snow White Happily Ever After instead of Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs. I mean, they both sound real, and the Disney classic does end with them living happily ever after all, and it's the 90s, girlfriends. No one really had internet yet. Wow. So Disney sued them. They don't exist anymore. The company of Filmation that put out these movies does not exist anymore. They only put out 2 movies and now they're gone, so that's cool. Okay, so, Snow White Happily Ever After. What's the plot here? Well, in broad strokes, it goes like this. Lord Malice was the evil queen's brother, and after she died at the end of the other Snow White movie, he's not very happy. He talks to the magic mirror, looking glass upon the wall.
Looking glass upon the wall, at my command you will show me all.
Queen's dead.
Yeah, that's I know. Oh. What the hell? That was scary.
And he finds out that she died because of Snow White. So Lord Malice is like, I have to kill Snow White, and I will do so by turning myself into a dragon, which is something I guess I can do. I know what some of you are thinking. That must be the dragon, the one foretold in the title and thumbnail of this video. Next, we will learn about the girl who used lightning on the dragon. This is all coming together, and you would be right if I didn't talk about these other guys first. The owl and bat named Scowl and Batso are our Team Rocket for the movie. The villains that don't really do much but act as comic relief so the audience doesn't get too scared.
What the hell? That was scary.
And trust me, without them, this movie will be horrifying. Remember how they weren't in the Pinocchio movie? Yeah, that one's awful. Okay, so the owl smokes cigars and the bat is also there. That's all we really need to know about them for now. So Lord Malice Dragon attacks Snow White, and Prince is like, dude, and uses his +5 crossbow to try to fight the dragon. It's all pretty crazy. The owl in the back end, the way of the dragon, and Snow White escapes. Lord Malice is pretty pissed though, so he straight up kills the prince. Just kills him. Man, crazy. Snow White wanders into the woods for a while, which is a reference to the 1937 movie, but not done as well. I mean, animation is hard, guys, and wakes up in the cottage of the 7 dwarves. But hey, it's the 90s. What if instead of some smelly old men who don't like soap, what if the dwarves were strong, independent women? Enter the 7 dwarf elves.
We're their cousins, the 7 dwarf elves.
They mentioned they were the 7 dwarfs' cousins, which is a fascinating line to me because it implies little people give birth in litters. Now, I've never known a little person in person, so I don't know if that holds true or not. But these aren't your ordinary 7 related short, strong, independent women, because they are also magic. You see, Mother Nature, who is played by the late great Phyllis Diller, granted each of the 7 dwarf elves with magic powers, like Funshine, or Bedtime, or Vaporeon. They're essentially the Care Bears. This one's even a furry. Look at her nose. But what about the girl from the thumbnail? Well, her name is Thunderella, and she is basically the main character from here on out. She has the power of using lightning. For example, during the final conflict in the movie, she will use lightning on a dragon. But right now, she can't use her lightning very well. She has a beautiful Disney-style I Want song, designating her as a main character. Main characters get to sing their emotions during their introduction to establish their goals for the story. Her song boils down to, if you guys can use your powers to do great things, then I can. I can. Do it right. It's pretty good. Too bad Mother Nature has summoned her to a tribunal to decide if she deserves to have lightning powers. And now this part of the video is where we have to address the elephant in the room. You ever notice that every other lightning-based character in fiction is black? Black Lightning, Static Shock, that whole tribe of guys in Naruto. Garnet from Steven Universe, Storm from the X-Men, Aqualad for some reason, Miles Morales Spider-Man, Electro, and Amazing Spider-Man 2, Black Lightning again.
I need to stop you right there, Brian. There isn't any tribe of black people with lightning abilities in Naruto. There is the Land of Lightning, which is a country that has as capital, if you want, the Hidden Cloud Village, where, yes, the leader of the village, every time it's a black dude with lightning abilities. The first Raikage, A. The second Raikage, A. The third Raikage, A. The fourth Raikage, A. Yes, all of their names, it's simply A. And the fifth Raikage, who is Darui. Yeah, we got some diversity.
It's weird, right? Like, I'm not the only one seeing this pattern, right? I mean, is Mother Nature taking Thunderella's powers away because she's not? Oh, this is a weird topic. Okay, so Lord Malice shows up and he and Mother Nature start fighting and we find out his powers are not natural, meaning he can't be affected by Mother Nature and she can't affect him. So the plot of the movie is now, hey, if you can go beat up Lord Malice, you can keep your powers. Okay, cool. This doesn't seem to affect Snow White at all, even a little bit, since the prince is dead and everything else, but she's not really the main character anymore, so whatever. So while they go on this journey, they're followed by Orko from He-Man, and he doesn't say or do so much, but the Dwarf Elves quickly start calling him the Shadow Man, which sounds racist, but okay.
Get that Shadow Man!
So we do that typical D&D thing where they have a few encounters and each one is almost specifically designed so one of their skills is necessary to move past it. Oh, Dark Cave? What if girl who controls light, you know, controls light? Wild dogs? Maybe our ranger can use her +5 to animal handling to figure out what's going on. Hey, even the narcoleptic one woke up for that one. Nice job. Her only lines in the entire movie. What's that? You want to know what's going on with the owl and the bat? I'm glad you asked. Lord Malice has some extra time on his hands and doesn't like the owl because of, you know, the thing earlier, so he tied him up over a boiling pot in a death trap activated by this candle burning through the rope. Pretty epic. The bat comes and saves the day so the owl is free, and it really makes you wonder how any of this is related to Snow White at all. The D&D party makes it to Lord Malice's castle just as the bat and owl are leaving, and we get like one wacky interaction before the bat and owl are gone until the end of the movie. They picked up the Sunshine one and dropped her. That's it. We have some wacky hijinks with those monsters that were at the beginning of the film, and it amounts to literally nothing, and then Snow White wakes up. I've watched this movie hundreds of times, and let me just say, they never showed her falling asleep. She wakes up on the cold, hard ground, and no one asks why she was sleeping there. No matter, because the prince is here now. Yep, with his weird smirk and his grabby hands, and he's forcing her along while she's struggling, and oh man, no. Don't like this. He drags her up to the top of the castle past all these broken statues and shows her a big bed-sized pedestal with her name on it. Getting some Pinocchio vibes. I wonder what was going on in Filmation Studio that led to this sort of scene being so prevalent in their films. It might actually be due to the studio being French, which sounds like another wacky, oh haha, Brian doesn't respect other cultures bit, like with Australia. And yeah, it does sound like that's where I'm going, but consider the DVD commentary to the 2008 French-American film Igor, where the director says he made sure that the film was being partially made by the French due to their more lax policies in regards to children's entertainment. Mr. Leondis brings up this point during two important scenes of the film. During the part where Scamper the Rabbit is shot through the head, we get a close-up scene of his gory viscera brain reforming, and later on when Igor totally fills up this woman's breasts. One of the characters was suicidal throughout the entire film. That movie's amazing! Leondis says that you want to be able to do these things in an American film. The French have a much more open dialogue when it comes to sexuality and violence. So is it any wonder why these French movies depict scenes indicative of... I don't know, man. It rhymes with grape. Anyway, yeah, it totally wasn't the prince at all. It was Lord Malice in a prince disguise.
What the hell? That was scary.
And now he has a magic red blanket that, if it goes on top of you, it turns you into stone. Snow White, along with the audience, starts connecting the dots and realizes that all the broken statues along the way were those living and breathing monsters at the beginning of the movie. And that Lord Malice has been systematically turning them into stone and breaking them. He is a murderer. Also, this is poor storytelling. You don't introduce a crazy powerful weapon like this in the final minutes of your movie. You're supposed to introduce it at the beginning so the audience knows what kind of stakes we're dealing with. This is Chekhov's gun, man. It's simple. Okay, so there's a struggle and the Shadow Man tries to stop Lord Malice and gets knocked out. Lord Malice does the laser eye trick, which is really weird and drawn out, and I don't like it. It's happening even. It's kind of hilarious. The dwarf elves patiently wait their turn, and then all try to attack at once, and Lord Malice is like, but what if blanket? And turns 6 of them into stone! He starts approaching Snow White with the blanket again, and we cut to Thunderella. She finally understands what I have been saying this whole time in the title and in the thumbnail. You know what she does?
Oh, she used lightning on a dragon?
She used lightning on a dragon! I'm so proud of her. Here's some things about lightning. Okay, this guy's name is Roy Sullivan. He was struck by lightning on 7 different occasions, and survived all of them. People called him the human lightning rod. Do you think maybe he had some kind of innate electricity powers like in real life, but lacked the necessary melanin levels to... Great! Great line, Brian! Fantastic! A bolt of lightning is roughly 5 times hotter than the surface of the sun, which is pretty impressive when you think of how often lightning storms happen. It's also 3,000 times slower than the speed of light, which is why we can see it. Pikachu uses lightning a lot, but he is a cartoon character and not real. Most strikes just go cloud to cloud, with only about 25% of lightning ever actually hitting anything. Usually it hits things called a lightning rod, which is used as a way of deflecting dangerous electricity into a large grounded area to alleviate possible damage, but sometimes, if we're lucky, it will hit a dragon and stun him mid-transformation while he's turning into stone! I like to imagine years down the road some adventurers find the ruins of Lord Malice's castle and there's a huge plaque next to the dragon statue. Although some of the letters are faded and moss covers up big chunks of it, I hope that these words read clearly. She used lightning on a dragon. Oh, and it turns out the Shadow Man was the prince the whole time and he wasn't dead, he was just black and missing some fingers, so that's really weird, and they take the owl's cigar away and stomp it, and he's immediately cured of his smoking habit, that happens in real life. If you ever see somebody smoking, just knock it out of their mouth and step on it, and they'll instantly thank you. Make sure to do that to your abusive parents. Hey, remember last week when I talked to you about Care Bears? Let's read some comments. You guys really surprised me, actually, with how many comments I got on that video. That was awesome! Okay, Mr. Floofles says this... Waiting for my Care Bears RPG that includes all the mechanics from the CB canon. And my favorite Care Bear is Oopsie, because my dad works at an animation company working on a Care Bear movie, and he told me that in the new movie, Oopsie eats a piece of all Bear's hair and obtains all for one and begins his quest to become the #1 hero, Care Bear. I'm like, more info, please. He's like, okay, Tidepool Orchestra, here's... So the movie is called Care Bears My Bear Academia. The movie follows Oopsie as he is being ridiculed by his classmates for not having a quirk, a belly badge. He ends up meeting his hero, All Bear, whose belly badge allows him to hug things with much ferocity. After intense training, Oopsie is given All for Bear, that's the name of the belly badge, and barely passes the entrance exam. The movie then ends on a cliffhanger. Read more. Mr. Fliffles, I think you're lying, but I want to watch it. Super Awesome Dude Face, great name, says, my favorite Care Bear is Twilight Sparkle. Okay, it's not a bear. JC Batty says, either Tenderheart or Grumpy. In response to, I asked, which Care Bear is your favorite? And they said, either Tenderheart or Grumpy, it's hard to choose. Who's your favorite? Also, it would be interesting to see a video on the new bad guys, Bluster and his bad crowd, if you have gotten the chance to see the reboot. And you know, I do need to watch a lot more of the reboot, honestly. I've only seen some parts of Season 1. My personal favorite in the reboot is Funshine, but I tend to have a different favorite during each generation. And welcome to Care-a-Lot, my favorite is Grumpy Bear, but in Care Bears and Cousins, it's Brightheart Raccoon. Nice! Bedtime Bear is one of my favorites in the new reboot, and what did you like about the reboot? Well, from what I saw, the war between the Blusters and the Care Bears looked like a game of Stratego, and the music is amazingly catchy. I need to watch more, but I figure I should focus on doing videos chronologically. This was on the 2010 Care Bears movie, Care Bears Share Bear Shines, so the next one should be based on the Giving Festival, I think. And I do want to give a little bit of a reaction. It turns out Share Bear Shines and the Giving Festival both released in 2010, but I might have gotten them mixed up which one came first. JC Batty goes on to say, my friend and I always like how in-depth you are with these studies. I hope to see more. Have a good day. And I'm like, that's awesome to hear, and it really is. Kai Fanchik, the one and only, also puts, yeah, we do like your videos. It's cool how focused you are and truly see how deep it is. The Care Bears lore goes incredibly deep, like insanely deep. And I was just talking to Ganon on Discord, Discord link down below, that we're trying to figure out if anything could actually stop the Care Bears, and not very much can, it turns out. They seem to be impervious to most things, but they do sometimes fall in the mud and get stuck, and then they can't use their belly badge because it's covered in mud. Eggs and Bacon Bits puts, I like the Brian Care Bear, and I don't know what that means. Alright, so guys, here's the new prompt. Just type in the comments, she used lightning on a dragon. Please, just do that. I only want those comments, okay? I'm gonna put that all in the next video. I want like 18 in a row that just say she used lightning on a dragon. Also, we hit 200 subscribers this week, and that's pretty cool, man. If you like this video, we did a commentary for the movie Snow White Happily Ever After over on Ghost Tornadoes, so go check that out. There'll be a link at the end. Until next time, this has been Brightening of Tidepool Orchestra.
She used lightning on a dragon. 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 She used lightning on a dragon.